Which teams that finished outside the AP Top 25 last season could you see making the jump to finishing inside the Top 25 this season? I came up with 4 of them. And I think a couple of them are pretty obvious, but you know what? Think to yourself, if you need to pause the video, pull up last year's final AP rankings. First thing you need to know is, on this particular show, we don't put a whole lot of stock in the AP, but the question's about the AP, so let's dive in. First team, the Fighting Collins of Tennessee. I think Tennessee was a top 15 team last year, top 20 caliber team in the power rating metrics. In AP, they did not finish there. So that's a team that finished 7-6, obviously. I think they had 3 losses of 1 possession mixed in there, but they were top 15 in points per game, yards per game, rush yards per game. Offensively, they kept trending in the right direction the entirety of the season. They were top 20 in the JP poll, like I said, at the end of the year. They go to Pitt in week 2. And it's going to be a really interesting scene there for both teams now, because Pitt's a dark horse playoff contender, and if you didn't know it, it was established on the last episode of Late Kick Live. But also, they've got the rest of that season, and you're looking at the schedule right now. They got Florida in the first month of the season. We're going to talk about Tennessee's schedule a little bit later on, but they've also got very, very big opportunities here. They got opportunities to make those old-fashioned statement wins, but also Tennessee, I mean, look at where they're trending. And look at the energy that they finished the season with, even with the bowl loss. It's really hard for me to imagine they'll be 25 better than Tennessee come December. The next team is Penn State. Penn State, I thought, was clearly a top 10 caliber team this past year before Sean Clifford went down in that Iowa game. That was that fateful early October afternoon where we had all those big upsets all over the country. I thought they were top 10 before that. But this football, injuries happen. So what you remember about Penn State last year is they were 7-6, and they lost the bowl game. So they finished 7-6, and everything kind of went off the rails, and you didn't get the rebound season that you were hoping for, right? Well, to me, they kind of did get it. It was just thrown in the wood chipper because of the quarterback injury. That doesn't matter for last year. It does matter for this year, though, because moving ahead this year, we got Sean Clifford back for the 47th year in a row. You're thinking to yourself, ooh, man, but Jahad Dotson's not there anymore. That's true. Parker Washington is, though. Really good playmaker already. I think a guy that is poised as much as maybe any player in the Big Ten to burst sort of on the national scene from just the local and regional scene. But also, if you go up and down their schedule, they've got Ohio State at home this year. And that game, if we were to cap it right now, you would probably install Penn State as over a 7-point underdog, even at home. And we'll see how that turns out. But outside of that, look up and down the schedule. If you're listening on podcast, I can tell you they go to Auburn in week 3. That's going to be a really good road test, but also a very winnable game on the road in the SEC. Remember, those two played last year, too. They go to Michigan October 15th. Very competitive game there. They got Minnesota the following week, and then Ohio State comes to town. And then the last 4 games on their schedule, at Indiana, Maryland, at Rutgers, and then they finish the regular season with Michigan State at home. My point in reading off the schedule is not just to prove that we have it in front of us. I'm asking you, can this team finish top 25? My answer is yes, because where's the other game where they're an underdog? Where's the other game where they're a big underdog? They may be a 2 or 3 point dog in some of these games. They're all winnable. And history tells us Ohio State at home is winnable too. So I think Penn State's going to finish top 25. Texas A&M, even though I'm listing them third, is probably the easiest go-to here. And I'm not even going to give you 4 or 5 bullet points for why A&M will finish in the top 25. I'm just going to flat out tell you there's no way there are 25 teams better than Texas A&M. Now, here's the reaction I know I'm going to get, so let me go ahead and spare you the time of looking me up and going to the inbox. A lot of you are thinking, no, Texas A&M is still a year away minimum. That may be true. It's all within the proper context. The question is not, give me 4 playoff teams this year. It's give me a few teams that finished outside the top 25 that are poised to jump in the top 25. Guys, 25 teams now. You're finding me 25 who are going to be better than A&M. Think about just the skill along the lines of scrimmage. I haven't even gotten to the infusion of talent from this true freshman class, but also there's a really, really solid quarterback battle going on there now. Max Johnson, you can find a lot of folks who will hook their wagon up to him. You got folks who also believe in Haynes King. I don't really care who you believe in. The point is, Jimbo can win with either one of them. This is going to be a really good team. Maybe they don't compete for the SEC West or a national title until next year. I guarantee you they can compete to be a top 25 team. I would call them a top 15 team. Now I would feel safe in saying that. They play in the SEC. The only thing that would trip that up is if the totality of their schedule chews them up too much. But if I gave this team an ACC schedule, it's a slam dunk top 15 team, much less top 25. The fourth team is in the ACC, and it's North Carolina, which has become tradition on this show. People have started making fun of me for defending North Carolina. So in typical Pate State fashion, we're going to roll with it anyway. The nucleus of this team is now 3 consecutive top 15 recruiting classes. The headline is going to be, they lost Sam Howell, quarterback. What you need to know is guys like Jahvaree Ritzie, guys like Keyshawn Silver, the totality of last year's star-studded class and the last 3 classes really, those guys now all gain a year and gain seasoning and gain experience, and you've got the strength and conditioning and nutrition and all the stuff that takes you from year 1 to year 2 where a lot of folks make that big leap. Well, all those guys have at least that under their belt now. But go back to the quarterback situation. Everybody knows Sam Howell's gone. How many of them really know anything about Drake May nationally? Not locally, nationally. How many of them know anything about Jacoby Criswell? How many of them are really following the quarterback battle there? I think you got a lot of folks that are just casually writing North Carolina off that couldn't even tell you what the quarterback situation there is right now, much less the fact that you got guys like Josh Downs there. I think listening to our Inside Carolina guys, they'll probably make an effort to gain at least one more receiver in the portal. But this team right here, our entire philosophy, at least on this show, is we were just a year early on them. I'll tell you personally what I got caught up in. What I got caught up in is a lot of the intoxication of that freshman class and the recruiting momentum, and I parlayed that into, well, if I believe in that, let's just go ahead and endorse North Carolina big time in the 2021 season. Didn't happen. Doesn't mean you bail on them. All the players I believed in then, I still believe in now. Maybe I was just a year early on them. I told you before, I did this with TCU one year. Believed in TCU, they that year. And then the next year, everyone sold them down the river, and I think they ended up going like double-digit wins. So I'm not going to do that again. North Carolina, A&M, Tennessee, Penn State, give me those 4 teams to finish inside the top 25 this year.